There is a mystery in the early hours of the morning that many people ignore, yet it holds the key to dominion, clarity, direction, and victory. The morning is not just the start of a new day, it is a spiritual gateway. Whoever controls the morning controls the outcomes of the day. If you do not command your day will command you. If you do not define your atmosphere, circumstances will define it for you. The early morning is a sacred window of spiritual advantage that many ignore, yet it holds the power to redefine the entire course of a person's life. There is a unique atmosphere that exists in the early hours before sunrise, an atmosphere of stillness, clarity, and heightened spiritual sensitivity. In those moments, the noise of the world is silent. Distractions are minimal. And the human spirit is most receptive. This is why those who understand spiritual principles place great value on early morning prayer. It is not just a routine, but a strategic alignment with divine order, positioning oneself ahead of time to receive guidance, strength, and direction before the pressures of the day begin. When a person wakes up early to pray, they are declaring that their life is governed by purpose and not by pressure. They are choosing intentionality over convenience. They are saying that their destiny is too important to be left to chance. Early morning prayer is an act of spiritual intelligence, a demonstration of hunger for God, and a commitment to walk in divine guidance. In these moments, the heart is tender, the mind is clear, and the spirit is alert, making it easier to discern divine instructions and perceive spiritual realities. The early morning is also a time of spiritual alignment. Every day carries divine assignments, but not everyone is positioned to recognize or fulfill them. Prayer aligns the heart with heaven's agenda, ensuring that decisions, actions, and responses are guided by divine wisdom. Without this alignment, people often live reactively, responding to situations rather than governing them. But when a person prays early, they step into the day with authority, clarity, and confidence. They are no longer victims of circumstances, but commanders of their atmosphere. Spiritual battles are often won or lost before the day even begins. Many challenges that manifest physically are rooted in spiritual dynamics. Early morning prayer allows a person to confront these battles before they escalate. It is a time to dismantle negative patterns, break cycles of defeat, and establish spiritual boundaries. In prayer, one can cancel destructive plans, silence opposing forces, and release divine intervention. This proactive engagement gives believers a significant advantage, ensuring that they walk in victory rather than struggle throughout the day. The early hours are also critical for personal transformation. Consistent early morning prayer builds discipline, strengthens character, and deepens spiritual capacity. It trains the spirit to submit to divine authority and the body to obey spiritual priorities. Over time, this discipline develops resilience, focus, and endurance. It becomes easier to resist temptation, overcome distractions, and remain steadfast in faith. What begins as a sacrifice soon becomes a source of strength and stability, shaping a life of consistency and spiritual maturity. In the place of early morning prayer, clarity is restored. Many people struggle with confusion, uncertainty, and indecision because they do not create space to hear divine guidance. The morning is the best time to seek direction because the mind is not yet crowded with responsibilities and emotional pressure. In that stillness, divine whispers become clearer. Solutions to complex problems emerge. Creative ideas are released, and strategic insights are imparted. What seemed complicated the night before often becomes simple in the presence of divine illumination. Early morning prayer also strengthens emotional and mental health. It replaces anxiety with peace, fear with confidence, and heaviness with joy. When a person starts the day in prayer, they are depositing spiritual strength into their inner being. This reservoir of strength becomes a shield against stress, frustration, and discouragement. Instead of reacting impulsively, they respond with wisdom and calmness. Instead of being overwhelmed, they remain anchored in peace, knowing that their steps are ordered and their path is secure. Furthermore, early morning prayer activates spiritual authority. It reminds the believer of their identity, position, and power. Speaking declarations, confessing God's word, and aligning with divine promises in the morning establishes dominion over the day. It is in this place that one learns to speak with faith, command their atmosphere, and declare divine order. This consistent practice builds confidence in spiritual authority, making it easier to stand firm in challenging situations and resist negative influences. Over time, the impact of early morning prayer becomes evident in every area of life. Relationships become healthier, decisions become wiser, productivity increases, and spiritual sensitivity deepens. Doors begin to open, favor is released, and divine connections are activated. What appears as a simple habit gradually becomes a powerful lifestyle that attracts divine intervention and supernatural results. The greatest benefit of early morning prayer is intimacy with God. Beyond the requests, declarations, and warfare, it is a time of communion, a sacred encounter where love, trust, and dependence are strengthened. In this quiet fellowship, the heart learns to rest in divine presence, finding assurance, comfort, and security. This intimacy becomes the foundation for a strong, vibrant spiritual life, sustaining faith through seasons of uncertainty and challenge. Ultimately, the spiritual advantage of early morning prayer lies in its ability to shape destiny. Those who consistently rise early to seek God position themselves for guidance, protection, and empowerment. They step into each day with clarity, authority, and peace, ready to fulfill divine purpose. Their lives become testimonies of transformation, proving that when the morning is surrendered to God, the rest of the day follows in divine alignment. Psalm 143 is not merely a poetic expression of emotion or a desperate cry for help. It is a deeply spiritual framework for destiny alignment.
Within its verses lies a pattern of approach, dependence, surrender, trust, and activation that every believer must understand to walk accurately with God. This psalm reveals how a man positions himself before God to receive direction, clarity, strength, and restoration. It teaches that destiny is not discovered by chance, but by deliberate alignment with divine will, and that such alignment begins with humility, brokenness, and total dependence on God.
Understanding Psalm 143 as a weapon of destiny alignment begins with recognizing the posture of the heart it demands. It starts with a cry for mercy, not entitlement. It acknowledges human weakness and God's sovereignty. This posture is essential because pride blocks guidance, but humility invites revelation. When a person admits their limitations and surrenders control, divine wisdom flows freely. Destiny alignment requires that one releases the illusion of self-sufficiency and embraces complete dependence on God, allowing Him to lead, instruct, and correct. Psalm 143 reveals that divine guidance is not automatic. It must be sought intentionally. The psalmist asked God to cause him to hear loving kindness in the morning and to show him the way he should walk. This demonstrates that destiny unfolds through instruction. Without divine guidance, even sincere effort can lead to error. Many people are busy but not productive, active but not effective, because they are not aligned with heaven's agenda. This psalm teaches that daily alignment through prayer and sensitivity to God's voice is the key to accurate movement in life. Another powerful dimension of Psalm 143 is its emphasis on surrender. The psalmist declares, "Teach me to do your will, for you are my God." This is a prayer of submission, acknowledging that personal desires, ambitions, and plans must bow to divine purpose. Destiny alignment requires that a person abandons selfish pursuits and embraces divine instructions, even when they conflict with comfort or convenience. True fulfillment is found not in personal ambition, but in obedience to God's will. When a person prays this prayer sincerely, they invite divine rearrangement, correction, and redirection. Psalm 143 also reveals the power of remembrance in destiny alignment. The psalmist reflects on God's past works, meditating on his mighty acts. This remembrance fuels faith and strengthens trust. When one remembers God's faithfulness, doubt loses its grip, fear dissolves, and confidence is restored. Destiny alignment is sustained by faith, and faith is strengthened through conscious remembrance of divine intervention. This reflection creates spiritual stability, ensuring that the believer does not lose direction during seasons of uncertainty. Another vital aspect of Psalm 143 is spiritual warfare. The psalmist acknowledges the presence of enemies and spiritual opposition, but instead of reacting in fear, he turns to God for deliverance. This teaches that destiny is contested territory. Progress attracts resistance, and alignment provokes opposition. Understanding this reality equips believers to engage in spiritual warfare through prayer, declarations, and reliance on divine power. Psalm 143 becomes a weapon for dismantling spiritual resistance, silencing opposition, and releasing divine intervention. The psalm also emphasizes divine revival and restoration. The psalmist speaks of a crushed spirit and a fainting heart, yet he looks to God for renewal. This reveals that destiny alignment is not only about direction, but also about strength. Life's battles, disappointments, and delays can drain emotional and spiritual energy. Through prayer, strength is renewed, passion is restored, and hope is revived. This renewal empowers believers to continue pursuing the purpose with resilience and courage. Furthermore, Psalm 143 demonstrates the importance of timing in destiny alignment. The request to hear God's voice in the morning reveals an understanding of spiritual timing. The early hours represent a season of spiritual clarity and receptivity. Seeking God early ensures that the day is governed by divine instruction rather than human impulse. This timing principle teaches that seeking God first establishes divine order, allowing every other activity to align accordingly. The declarations within Psalm 143 also activate spiritual sensitivity. The psalmist lifts his soul to God, creating a posture of expectancy. This expectancy opens the spirit to receive insight, warnings, and divine strategies. Destiny alignment requires spiritual alertness, the ability to discern divine signals, and the wisdom to interpret spiritual instructions.
Through consistent engagement with prayers like Psalm 143, believers develop heightened spiritual perception, enabling them to navigate life with accuracy and confidence. Ultimately, Psalm 143 functions as a complete blueprint for destiny alignment. It teaches humility, dependence, obedience, faith, warfare, renewal, timing, and sensitivity.
When a person consistently prays this psalm with understanding, their life gradually shifts into divine order. Confusion gives way to clarity. Struggle transforms into victory, and stagnation turns into progress. This alignment produces a life of purpose, impact, and spiritual authority, ensuring that every step taken reflects divine intention and eternal significance. Commanding the atmosphere before the world wakes up is one of the deepest expressions of spiritual authority and destiny consciousness. The atmosphere is not neutral. It is a spiritual environment influenced by words, thoughts, actions, and spiritual forces. Every day carries an unseen spiritual climate that can either support progress or resist it. Those who understand this truth do not step into the day passively. They rise early to take charge, to establish divine order, and to determine the spiritual direction of their day before external influences attempt to dominate it. Before the world wakes up, there is a rare stillness, a sacred quietness that allows the spirit to become highly sensitive. In these moments, the distractions of life are silent, emotional noise is reduced, and spiritual perception is sharpened. This is the time when the heart can easily connect with divine presence, when spiritual clarity is at its peak, and when the voice of God can be heard without interference. Those who wake early and pray step into this realm of spiritual advantage, positioning themselves to receive insight, wisdom, and strength. To command the atmosphere means to take responsibility for the spiritual conditions that govern your life. It means refusing to allow fear, confusion, heaviness, negativity, or discouragement to shape your day. Instead, you intentionally release faith, peace, confidence, hope, and divine expectation. Through prayer and declaration, you establish spiritual boundaries, permitting only what aligns with divine purpose and rejecting everything that contradicts it. This act of commanding is not arrogance, it is spiritual stewardship. Words carry spiritual power. When spoken in faith, they shape reality. Commanding the atmosphere involves declaring divine truth, speaking life, and aligning one's environment with heavenly standards. In the early hours when the mind is fresh and the heart is open, these declarations penetrate deeply into the spirit and subconscious. They set the tone for thoughts, emotions, decisions, and reactions throughout the day. Instead of responding impulsively to challenges, one operates from a position of spiritual stability and authority. When the atmosphere is not commanded, it becomes vulnerable to external influences. Stress, pressure, fear, anxiety, and negativity easily take control. Many people begin their day reacting to problems, bad news, or emotional tension. This reactive lifestyle creates exhaustion, frustration, and instability. However, those who command their atmosphere before sunrise begin their day proactive, prepared, and spiritually fortified. They enter every situation with clarity and composure, carrying an inner strength that cannot be easily shaken. Commanding the atmosphere also involves spiritual warfare. The early morning is a strategic time to confront spiritual resistance, cancel negative patterns, and dismantle opposing forces. Many obstacles encountered during the day are rooted in unseen spiritual dynamics. By addressing these forces early, believers prevent unnecessary struggles and establish spiritual dominance. This proactive approach shifts battles away from physical exhaustion to spiritual victory, allowing the day to unfold with greater ease and success. Furthermore, commanding the atmosphere activates divine order. It aligns personal intentions with heaven's agenda. Instead of pursuing self-centered plans, one becomes sensitive to divine instructions. This alignment results in accurate decision-making, wise choices, and strategic movement. Opportunities are recognized, mistakes are avoided, and divine connections are activated. The day becomes productive, purposeful, and impactful, guided by spiritual intelligence rather than human impulse. There is also a psychological transformation that occurs when a person commands their atmosphere early. The mind becomes disciplined, focused, and resilient. Negative thoughts lose their power, and emotional stability is strengthened. Confidence increases, fear diminishes, and motivation is restored. This inner transformation enables individuals to face challenges with courage and perseverance. Instead of being overwhelmed, they remain anchored in faith and assurance. The habit of early command creates consistency in spiritual growth. Over time, it deepens intimacy with God, strengthens faith, and builds spiritual authority. It trains the spirit to remain alert, sensitive, and responsive. This spiritual discipline gradually transforms character, shaping humility, patience, endurance, and wisdom. Life begins to reflect divine order, stability, and maturity, attracting favor and divine acceleration. Commanding the atmosphere before the world wakes up also fosters gratitude and contentment. In the quiet moments of prayer and reflection, the heart learns to appreciate divine goodness, acknowledge blessings, and trust divine timing. This gratitude releases joy, peace, and emotional healing. Instead of complaining or comparing, one begins to walk in satisfaction and confidence, knowing that divine purpose is unfolding. Ultimately, commanding the atmosphere is about partnership with God. It is an intentional collaboration with divine power to shape destiny, influence outcomes, and establish spiritual dominion. Those who rise early and take control of their spiritual environment position themselves for victory, clarity, and divine favor. They refuse to live at the mercy of circumstances and choose instead to govern their lives through prayer, faith, and divine alignment. When you command the atmosphere before the world wakes up, you take ownership of your destiny. You establish spiritual order. You release divine power. You secure guidance, protection, and strength. And as a result, your days become purposeful, productive, and impactful, reflecting the glory of divine intention in every step you take. Activating divine guidance, speed, and clarity is one of the greatest privileges available to a believer, and it is also one of the most powerful advantages in life. Many people struggle not because they lack effort, intelligence, or potential, but because they lack direction. They move, but they do not know where they are going. They labor, but they do not know what they are building. Without divine guidance, even sincere actions can lead to wasted years, painful mistakes, and unnecessary frustration. When divine guidance is activated, life becomes purposeful, focused, and progressive. Divine guidance is the ability to receive direction from God concerning decisions, relationships, timing, and purpose. It brings clarity in seasons of confusion, uncertainty, in moments of doubt. When a person is guided by God, they are not guessing their way through life. They are walking with assurance. Their steps are ordered, their decisions are accurate, and their movements are strategic. This guidance is activated through prayer, sensitivity, humility, and a sincere desire to obey divine instructions. Speed is another dimension that emerges when divine guidance is activated. Divine speed does not mean haste or reckless movement. It means supernatural acceleration without error. It is the ability to achieve in months what would normally take years. It is the grace to progress rapidly while maintaining stability, wisdom, and precision. Divine speed is released when a person aligns fully with divine will. Instead of struggling through obstacles, they experience unusual breakthroughs, open doors, and favor that shortens their journey. Clarity is the third dimension that completes this powerful combination. Clarity brings understanding, insight, and perspective. It removes confusion, doubt, and uncertainty. When clarity is present, a person knows what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. The mind is illuminated, the vision is sharpened, and the purpose becomes obvious. This clarity is not intellectual brilliance. It is spiritual illumination that flows from divine presence. When divine guidance, speed, and clarity are activated together, life becomes purposeful and impactful. Decisions become easier, transitions become smoother, and challenges become manageable. Instead of reacting emotionally, one responds wisely. Instead of rushing blindly, one moves strategically. This alignment transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Many people struggle with stagnation because they are disconnected from divine guidance. They operate by trial and error, learning only through painful experiences. But when divine guidance is activated, lessons become lighter, corrections become gentler, and progress becomes steady. God begins to instruct, correct, and direct, preventing costly mistakes and unnecessary detours. This guidance protects destiny, preserves time, and safeguards purpose. Divine speed is especially critical in a generation filled with delay, frustration, and prolonged waiting. Many carry great potential but remain trapped in cycles of postponement. Divine speed breaks these cycles, releasing momentum and progress. It causes long-standing barriers to collapse, delays to turn into testimonies, and waiting seasons to shift into fulfillment. When divine speed is activated, progress becomes natural and advancement becomes consistent. Clarity protects the mind from confusion, anxiety, and emotional instability. Many mental struggles arise from uncertainty and fear of the unknown. When clarity is present, peace replaces anxiety, confidence replaces fear, and stability replaces confusion. The mind becomes focused, disciplined, and resilient. This mental clarity empowers individuals to remain productive, motivated, and consistent even in the face of adversity. Activating these dimensions requires intentional spiritual engagement. It demands consistent prayer, meditation on God's word, and a lifestyle of obedience. Divine guidance is not given to the proud, but to the humble. Speed is not granted to the reckless, but to the obedient. Clarity is not released to the distracted, but to the focused. This means that alignment, surrender, and discipline are essential for sustaining these spiritual advantages. As divine guidance becomes consistent, discernment increases. A person becomes more sensitive to spiritual impressions, warnings, and instructions. They begin to recognize divine timing, avoiding premature decisions and delayed obedience. This discernment safeguards destiny, preventing unnecessary struggles and positioning the individual for optimal outcomes. When divine speed is active, productivity increases without exhaustion. Instead of burnout, there is grace. Instead of stress, there is ease. This supernatural acceleration does not destroy balance or peace. It enhances efficiency and effectiveness. It enables a person to accomplish more while remaining emotionally and spiritually stable. Clarity also sharpens vision. Purpose becomes vivid, goals become defined, and priorities become established. This clarity eliminates distraction, procrastination, and double-mindedness. Life becomes focused, structured, and intentional. Every action begins to serve a purpose, contributing to long-term fulfillment and impact. Ultimately, activating divine guidance, speed, and clarity positions a person for a life of purpose, excellence, and influence. It ensures that destiny unfolds according to divine design rather than human struggle. Those who walk in these dimensions become instruments of transformation, carriers of light, and examples of divine wisdom. When guidance directs your steps, speed accelerates your progress, and clarity sharpens your vision, your life becomes a testimony of divine power. Confusion disappears, stagnation breaks, and purpose is fulfilled. This is the reward of alignment, obedience, and intimacy with God. A life that moves forward with confidence, impact, and divine approval. Declaring victory, direction, and purpose over your day is a powerful spiritual exercise that shapes the outcomes of life. Every day is a blank page, and what fills that page is determined largely by what is spoken, believed, and acted upon. Declarations are not empty words. They are spiritual instruments that align the heart, mind, and environment with divine intention. When spoken in faith, they release authority, establish dominion, and activate divine intervention. A day that begins with intentional declaration is a day positioned for clarity, strength, and success. Victory is not merely the absence of problems. It is the presence of divine power working on your behalf. When you declare victory over your day, you are aligning your expectations with divine promises. You are acknowledging that challenges may arise, but they will not prevail. This declaration builds confidence, courage, and resilience. It shifts your mindset from fear to faith, from anxiety to assurance, and from uncertainty to expectation. Instead of approaching the day with hesitation, you step forward with boldness, knowing that divine power surrounds you. Direction is equally vital. Without direction, effort becomes exhaustion, and movement becomes confusion. Declaring direction over your day is an intentional surrender to divine leadership. It is a recognition that wisdom is needed for decisions, interactions, and responsibilities. When you declare direction, you open your heart to divine instruction, positioning yourself to receive insight, warnings, and strategic guidance.
This sensitivity prevents costly mistakes and ensures that actions are aligned with purpose. Direction transforms busy schedules into meaningful progress and ordinary tasks into purposeful assignments. Purpose gives meaning to life. Declaring purpose over your day reminds you that your existence is intentional and your actions are significant. It instills a sense of responsibility and motivation.
When purpose is declared, life is no longer random, it becomes intentional. Every conversation, decision, and action is guided by a sense of divine assignment. This awareness inspires excellence, commitment, and perseverance. Instead of drifting through life, you walk with conviction, knowing that your presence carries impact and significance. Declarations also influence the emotional and mental state. Speaking victory, direction, and purpose over your day reinforces positive thinking, emotional stability, and spiritual confidence. Negative thoughts, fear, and discouragement lose their grip when confronted by faith-filled declarations. The mind becomes disciplined, focused, and resilient. Emotional turbulence is replaced with calm assurance. This inner stability equips you to respond wisely to challenges and remain composed under pressure. Furthermore, declarations establish spiritual boundaries. By speaking divine truth, you are setting limits on what is permitted to operate in your life. You are declaring that fear, confusion, failure, and discouragement have no authority. This spiritual boundary creates a shield of protection, ensuring that external negativity does not penetrate your inner world. Instead of absorbing stress and tension, you release peace and confidence. Declaring victory over your day activates spiritual authority. It reminds you of your identity and position, strengthening your faith and courage. You become conscious of your ability to influence circumstances rather than be controlled by them. This awareness fosters responsibility, maturity, and leadership. Instead of complaining about challenges, you confront them with faith. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you remain anchored in hope and assurance. Direction ensures that energy is invested wisely. When you declare direction, your priorities become clear, distractions lose their appeal, and productivity increases. You begin to manage time effectively, focusing on what truly matters. This clarity prevents burnout, reduces stress, and enhances fulfillment. Life becomes organized, purposeful, and balanced, allowing you to progress steadily toward long-term goals. Purpose ignites passion and determination. When you declare purpose over your day, you awaken a deep sense of meaning and motivation. Tasks that once felt routine become opportunities for impact. Challenges become platforms for growth. This purpose-driven mindset fuels perseverance, enabling you to remain consistent even when progress seems slow. It transforms obstacles into stepping stones and setbacks into lessons. Declarations also shape relationships and interactions. When victory, direction, and purpose govern your heart, your words become uplifting, your actions become considerate, and your presence becomes influential. You begin to speak life into others, offering encouragement, wisdom, and hope. This positive influence strengthens relationships, builds trust, and fosters unity. Your environment becomes healthier, more supportive, and more productive. Over time, consistent declarations reprogram the subconscious, replacing negative beliefs with faith-filled convictions. This transformation influences behavior, decisions, and emotional responses. Fear gradually diminishes, confidence grows, and hope becomes constant.
Life begins to reflect the power of spoken faith, demonstrating that words truly shape reality. Ultimately, declaring victory, direction, and purpose over your day is an act of partnership with divine power. It is an intentional alignment with heaven's agenda, inviting divine presence into every moment. Those who practice this consistently experience greater clarity, stability, and fulfillment.
Their lives become testimonies of transformation, revealing the power of faith, discipline, and intentional living. When you rise each day and declare victory, direction, and purpose, you are not merely speaking words, you are shaping destiny. You are setting the tone for success, establishing spiritual authority, and positioning yourself for divine alignment. Through these declarations, every day becomes an opportunity to walk in confidence, wisdom, and fulfillment, fulfilling divine purpose with clarity and power.